Welcome back to part 8 of What If Hinata was the sensei of Team 7. Please make sure to like and subscribe as it motivates me to upload more videos. As always, link to the fanfiction is in the description. Chapter 15 Prelude to the First Exam. Naruto woke up early. It was time for the exams to begin. He was excited and nervous at the same time. His sensei gave the okay for him to take the exam and his team. This would just be a stepping stone for him to become the Hokage. Last night he had dinner with Hinata and her sister. He didn't know why she was over, but he suspected had something to do with the clan. She was going to stay at her place for now. He made sure to get everything he would need cause he didn't know what to expect from the exams. He got all his ninja tools and double-checked to make sure he had everything. He didn't want to leave a stone unturned. When he was on his way out, Hinata gave him a scroll. "What is this exactly?" Naruto asked her, wondering why she was giving him this scroll. "It is lunch for you and your team," she answered. "Thank you, Hinata-chan," Naruto said with a smile. "Please be careful, Naruto-kun. The exams are dangerous. If you're not careful, you could be killed. I wouldn't be able to face your parents if such a thing happened," she said worriedly. "You have nothing to worry about. You worry too much. I'll pass these exams with flying colors, you'll see. I'll catch up to you soon enough." Yes, he would. He was determined to become a Chunin, which would be a stepping stone to his goal. The goal of Hinata was seeing him as a man instead of a boy. As long as he stayed as he was, he had no chance at all. He may have succeeded in making her laugh a few days ago, but he had a long way to go if he was ever going to have a chance with her. "I'll make you proud," Naruto said, and then he left, not looking back, not wanting Hinata to notice that he was blushing. "You could not have made it more obvious that you desire her if you tried," Kyubi said to him teasingly. "There's nothing wrong with it, she's an attractive woman, which is obvious. There's nothing wrong with you being sexually attracted to her, it's quite natural for a teenager like you. I would be worried if you weren't." Naruto didn't really want to hear it. "I'm just a boy, I have no chance," Naruto said, wanting to drop the topic. "Do you know your father, your grandfather, and your great-grandfather? Do you know what they all have in common?" Kyubi asked. "What do I have in common with my father and my grandfather and great-grandfather? What does that have to do with my feelings towards Hinata-sensei?" Naruto asked, wanting him to get to the point. "For some reason the males in your family have a thing for older women. Not that I have any problems with that great taste, there's nothing better than a mature woman. But what I don't understand is why they would go for younger men." Naruto wanted to know when he would get to the point. "Does this have a point?" Naruto asked, getting sick and tired of him being teased about his feelings for Hinata. "A blind man can see that you have strong and deep feelings for this woman. You are lucky, you have no competition because you would lose. There's a lot of men who are eyeing her, but she has no interest in them. Lucky you because you would have no chance as you are. She is a boy, she has a lot of options. She did have any man she wants. Not only does she have a nice body, but there's aspects of her personality that makes her appealing as well. If only she were to show her true self more to people, she would have a line of fanboys. You would have no chance whatsoever. You are lucky she is the way she is," Kyubi said in a more serious tone, unlike the teasing one from earlier. "You don't need to remind me that I'm just a boy. I know that. Why do you have to constantly remind me?" Naruto asked, wanting to not talk about the conversation. "This is not going to be easy for you to hear, Kiba. Your actions a few days ago have made it quite obvious to those who aren't blind that you would not have gone as far as you did if you were in love with Hinata. You may deny it, you may say it's anything but love, but I know what I see. I've seen it with my previous host before. I know the signs. I noticed it with your mother when your father made her laugh for the first time and how she fell in heels in love with him. Though unlike you, your father was 3 years older than you are now, quite a strange relationship that was," Kyubi said, remembering how it all happened as if he was there to witness it firsthand. "Was my father really my mother's student? I have a difficult time believing that," Naruto said, not believing what he had been hearing. "For generations the men on your side of the family have fallen in love with their sensei. I don't know what it is. I don't understand why women would go for a younger man, but it happens. I think it's a tradition that goes back centuries. Your father would probably know. Unfortunately he's not alive to ask," Kyubi said apologetically. "How did my dad make mom laugh?" Naruto asked, generally wanting to know. I don't know, your mother wasn't necessarily, let's just say, someone that I regularly talk to. You, it would be best if you ask people who knew them, though that would probably be difficult. To understand how your mother left you would have to know about her past, which is something I have not much knowledge about. My previous host and I rarely spoke. It wasn't encouraged, so unfortunately, kid, I can't tell you anything. Kyuubi said to Naruto that he had no information about his father's other sensei, Jiraiya. Perhaps he could ask him, but the chances of running into Jiraiya were low. He wasn't in Konoha. His father left for an extended period of time, and it would be 6 years before he saw his mom again. There was so much more to the story than Naruto knew. He needed answers, and he wanted answers about his parents. There was also the Hokage, who he would probably know. Part of him was angry with him because of the secret that he kept from him for all these years, despite him understanding why. It still didn't make him any less angry. He was getting close to his destination, where his team was. He was eager not to continue with this conversation. He did not want to hear this, especially when he wanted to focus on exams. If the gentle Minato could get together with your mother, who had a reputation for bashing men's skulls and who even tried to hit on her and spoke her mind to any man that tried to degrade her, I think you would have a better chance than any man, especially considering the kind of woman Hinata is. Isn't that much different from your mother? Yes, she's gentle and kind, but she has a side of her that doesn't put up with any man's shit. I like that in a woman. I admire it. She's probably the best possible option for you as your mate. This was starting to get annoying to Naruto. Hinata is just a friend, that's all she ever will be, he said, trying to convince himself. You don't actually believe that, do you? He asked him. Can we just drop this for now? Naruto asked him. Fair enough, besides you're getting close to your team anyway. Just take what I said into consideration, what your feelings towards this woman are. You must come to terms with it sooner rather than later. You never know when another man may have an eye on her and she actually goes for it. Kyuubi finished and let Naruto absorb everything that he had just said. Naruto did not want to imagine that he couldn't. It was ridiculous. Hinata with another man. That was absurd. He pushed that ridiculous side aside. He met up with his team. Sasuke looked like he was irritated. Kagome looked excited. About damn time, it took you forever to let's go, Kagome said, eager to enter the exam. Sasuke and Naruto were the same. He couldn't wait to test the fruits of his training. So many new skills that he had learned and couldn't wait to unleash them. The more Hanabi sees Naruto interact with her sister, the more she is convinced that Naruto is completely in love with her. Those eyes do not fool her. He probably isn't aware of it yet, and he probably wouldn't be for at least a year, perhaps more, but it was there. As for her sister, she is likely not aware to what extent his feelings for her are. She was told by her father once that Kushina, when she was his sensei, looked at Minato in a different way than her other students. She looked up the family history. Naruto's family history, especially on his father's side, always falls in love with their sensei. It happened with Minato's father, Naruto's grandfather, whose history has repeated itself generation after generation. It was ridiculous, but she couldn't deny it considering what has been happening in real time. Naruto's feelings for Hinata had been growing, and her sister had smiled and laughed for the first time in years a few days ago thanks to Naruto doing everything to make her laugh. Her feelings about it are mixed. Naruto is just a boy while Hinata is a woman. Though she knows that Naruto won't always be a boy, he was willing to risk going his entire life without ramen just to see her sister smile and hear her laugh. He was even willing to risk angering the entire village and inciting the wrath of it on him just to make one woman laugh. If that couldn't convince her that Naruto was in love with her sister, then nothing would. His actions speak for themselves, the lengths he's willing to go to make her sister smile. It was obvious to everyone in the village that he had a crush on her when he laid his eyes on her for the first time after Team 7 was first formed, but love is something she had noticed almost as soon as she started reconciling with her sister. It was subtle at first. She noticed his eyes, how they reacted every time he wasn't instructed to do something and praised him or critiqued his performance. The way he acted around her sister versus everyone else was overwhelming evidence that the seeds were planted for her sister falling in love with him down the road, though it was a ways off and would not happen as he is now, just a boy. She couldn't focus on that though at the moment. She shoved those thoughts deep into the depths of her mind right now. Her main concern was getting to her team. Regardless about how she feels about her clan and father right now, Her big priority was the exams. She wanted to see all the results of her training that she has made. How far has she come? Be careful, Hanabi. The exams are dangerous, especially the second one. Don't be careless, please. Hinata said softly to her. You worry too much, big sis. I can look after myself and my team will be there for me. I'll be fine, Hanabi replied, trying to alleviate Hinata's worries. I would be a terrible sister if I weren't worried, she replied back. Stay safe, Hinata, Hanabi said before she left. You too, she replied. She headed out, knowing she would likely be fighting someone from Team 7 during the exams. Regardless, she couldn't lose to anyone, not even her own sister's team. She had to prove to herself and her clan how far she had come. She met her team. Are you ready for the exams, Hanabi? Shino asked. I'm more than ready for the exams. I could tell you that much. Kiba added. Just a question, why weren't you at the compound like you normally are? Why did we meet you close to where your sister lives? Shino asked, suspecting that something was going on with her clan. I'd rather not talk about that. I would rather focus on the exams. Hanabi said, cutting him off. Well, those bastards better not have done anything to you or all. Kiba didn't get a chance to finish before he was gently elbowed by Shino. She'll tell us when she wants to, he said, looking at Hanabi nonverbally, suspecting something was up. I can't wait to wipe those smiles from the smug faces of those people who have looked down on my clan for so long. Kiba said excitedly. Your biggest problem, Kiba, is your cocky attitude. You underestimate your opponents, which is why people look down on you. It's not because of your clan, it's because of you. Shino pointed out. Well, I'm certainly not going to lose to Naruto. That's for sure, Kiba said. Neither will I, Hanabi agreed. I'm not going to lie, it was kind of funny how Naruto pissed off the entire civilian council. I never liked those assholes, and to think some of them were pedophiles makes me sick. The thing that I was taught by those fuckers, yuck. Kiba said contemptuously over some of the members he was taught by. I don't know if I approve of Naruto's methods for exposing them, but anything that makes the children safer from predators works with me. Shino, how do you feel about Naruto and Hinata, Hanabi? Kiba asked. I don't know what you mean. Hanabi said, ignoring the question. Come on, you must know Naruto better than us. Anyway, you're the one who gave him ideas to make Hinata-sensei laugh. Be honest with us. We all knew he had a crush on her, but I believe it's far more than that. I could smell it, Kiba said in a tone turning more serious. It certainly is obvious. I could tell by his body language, how his eyes light up whenever he talks about her. The lengths to which he goes to please her and the kind of respect he gives to her are not something someone does for a simple crush. Shino knows this and pointed out, agreeing with Kiba. I don't care really, as long as he doesn't break her heart. I don't care one way or another. Hanabi said, trying to end the conversation. Is he a little too young? No offense, Hanabi. Naruto is like a boy compared to Hinata-sensei, who's a woman. He absolutely has no chance. Kiba said. Everybody said that about Minato regarding his sensei, and well, we know how that turned out. Shino said, reminding Kiba about what had historically happened. Let's also not forget that Kushina was 10 years older than Minato, and their age gap got bigger when they got together. I don't see how Naruto would have less of a chance than his father. Shino remarked. I'm sorry, it's just weird. I can never imagine me and our sensei. It's just wrong, Kiba said. Well, it's none of our business as long as it doesn't happen until Naruto is of age. It's not our problem. Hanabi cut the conversation short. You're right. We should be heading to the exams, not having this conversation that's not relevant to our immediate goal. Shino said, agreeing with Hanabi. Let's get going, we don't want to be late. Hanabi ordered her team. She was the unofficial leader of Team 8 when her sensei wasn't around. They didn't argue against her. The one thing that concerned her most though was her cousin Neji. They would come to blows one way or another. It was inevitable she would have to steel herself from him. She couldn't lose, not even to Neji. They headed to the building where the first exam would take place. Nothing else mattered at this moment to her except getting there. Hakobe made sure there was no one around. She couldn't go on this mission without at least seeing her daughter. Tanuki, the child's father, was with her. Root did not know about her existence and they wanted to keep it that way. When she was pregnant about 2 years ago, her then boyfriend came up with a plausible lie in order to conceal her pregnancy. If there's one thing she was afraid of more than anything was Danzo getting a hold of her child. She wanted Sumire to have a normal childhood. She wasn't as fanatically dedicated to Root as her husband was, but she supported their goals all the same, even more so since Sumire was born. She left her child with her parents who knew full well her associations and understood. Her husband didn't approve, but there was no choice, their secret could not be known. They entered the house. Her parents didn't particularly like her husband, but they accepted him reluctantly because he was Sumire's father. "Hako, I'm so happy to see you, your daughter misses you," her mother said to her. She gave her mother a bear hug. Despite her training, she couldn't let go of her love of her family. Her mother looks like an older version of herself, what she would look like when she reaches the age of 40. Her father, it was difficult for people to believe that they were related. Her father had short black hair, his hair was graying due to him being in his 60s. There was a huge uproar at the time considering the massive age gap between her father and mother, but it never mattered to her. They loved each other and that was enough. Her father was holding her 2-year-old daughter, who was ecstatic to see her mother. "Mama," the 2-year-old said. He handed her Sumire, this precious little child that she was holding in her hands. She was the reason why going on missions and doing the dirty work that no one else would want to do for Root was easier. This child was who she was fighting for the future so she can be safe. "Where's Papa?" the girl asked. Her husband walked beside her. Despite his cold demeanor that he gives off most of the time, when it came to her and their daughter, he always showed his soft side. "I'm here, my little flower," he said, smiling. The only people he ever smiled for was for her and Sumire. To him they were all that mattered. They would have to leave soon because they would be late, but she couldn't leave without at least seeing her daughter. They wouldn't see her for a while, especially with the upcoming operation. "Mother, Father, there's something I need to ask of you. Don't ask questions, I can't answer them. Leave the village. Take Sumire somewhere safe. I'll send a raven when it's safe to return." Her mother was looking at her worryingly. "What's going on?" she asked. "I'm afraid I can't answer that. Your safety is all that matters, please just listen to me." She looked at her little girl, who was holding in her arms. She hated doing this to her parents. "Is there any reason? What's wrong? What's going on?" asked her father. "I can't answer whatever questions you have, you know that." Her parents were shinobi, retired though still active. As long as they reported to the Hokage that they could inform him that they were going on vacation, they'd be put on leave. They'd be away long enough by the time the operation was over for it to be safe for them to return. "We worry about you since you've joined that organization. You've been distant from us." They looked at her husband non-verbally, showing their contempt for him. They hated Root and everything it stood for. Her relationship with her family was almost non-existent until she was pregnant and she was forced to stop going on missions for 6 months. This was at a time where she focused mostly on research like her husband normally does, in order to cover up the real reason she didn't go on missions. This is when she started reconciling with her parents. When her daughter was born, there was no other place safe than with them. She had other siblings, but they were dead, and the story officially was that Sumire was their granddaughter from one of her dead siblings. "We will pack our things as soon as possible, but can you at least stay for a little bit?" her father asked. She shook her head. "I can't, and you know why. You've been a shinobi." They understood without her saying it. It pained her that she barely had time with her child. She would love nothing more than to retire from being a shinobi entirely and spend it as a mother full-time if it meant she could spend time with her daughter. "We have to go," her husband reluctantly said. He wanted to stay with their daughter. He didn't want to leave Sumire with her parents, but there was no choice. If she stayed for too long, Root would discover her existence, and that's something they couldn't allow. "I don't want you to go, Mama, Papa," the 2-year-old girl was crying. It broke her heart to see her daughter this way, but she couldn't do anything. She was in the heart of the beast, she couldn't turn back even if she wanted to. She was fully dedicated to Danzo's cause until her daughter was born. What he would do to her if he ever found out. Her husband's dedication never changed, though it was as fierce as it ever was. If she had to choose between her daughter or her husband, who would she choose? She prays she never has to find out. Despite attachments being discouraged, she was only human, and so was her husband. They weren't the only members of Root that have given into their human impulses. It was a contradiction. She knew the logic behind it. The next generation would carry on the torch of Root's ideas. She didn't want her daughter to have anything to do with those ideas, she wanted her to have a normal life. "We will be back before you know it, my little flower," she said to her. She sang a lullaby that her mother once sung for her when she was a baby, which caused her daughter to fall asleep. She handed her back to her mother. She turned her back, but not without hearing a word from her father. "At some point, you're going to have to decide what's truly important, family or..." He didn't need to say it, she knew she couldn't be there to face her parents. She left. Before they met up with Sai, her husband said things to her. "We're doing this for her." He said it to reassure her. "I don't know, Tanuki. What are we truly fighting for? Are we fighting for our daughter's future? Are we fighting for the furthering of Danzo's ambitions? He says that we are doing this for the good of the village, but are we?" She said doubtfully. He didn't look pleased by her doubts. "He is fighting for a better future, those fools that currently run this village. What good have they done for us? Danzo-sama is a visionary, our village is weak and vulnerable, and the pathetic will of fire doctrine. What has it done for us? My dedication to Danzo has never been stronger, but now having a daughter to fight for, I'm fighting for her future too. This village, we will rip out the rotten roots and make our village stronger than ever. That is the goal of Root. You believed in those ideas once, what has happened?" He asked her, disappointed of her doubts. Hakob answered her husband's question. "Sumair is what happened, things are not the same. I never expected to be a parent at such a young age. I had a lot of time to think about these things, especially when I was pregnant with our daughter. I just don't know anymore, what are we truly fighting for?" Her husband looked conflicted, his love for her and his devotion to Danzo were in conflict. "Put those thoughts aside for now, right now, we have to be on our mission. Sai is waiting for us," he said coldly, going back to the cold persona that her husband was known for. She put on her mask of a cold woman that people think she is. She had a mission, and the only thing that mattered right now was her daughter. She would do everything in her power to protect her. Sai was waiting for them near the entrance, looking bored. He was reading an interesting book. She thought that someone would have something like this despite being discouraged to have such things. "You two have taken forever. I was wondering if you would show up," he said in cold indifference. "Whatever you know, what is our mission?" she asked her companion. Like him, he wore what was expected of someone at the rank of Jonin. He didn't wear anything that particularly stood out. He wore a gray vest with tan-colored shorts and 2 pouches on both sides. They all wore the same thing, though there were differences to various degrees. She changed her clothing for what she was wearing earlier, purple on top and black on bottom. Purple and black were her colors when she was a Jonin. She dyed her hair red in order not to be recognized. Her husband did the same, though his colors were all black and his hair was brown, which wasn't much different from his actual hair color. All they had to do now was not draw attention and blend in, or else they would get into fights. Otherwise, their skills would be obvious that they're not Jonin. Lastly, the last thing they needed was to have their mission compromised. Any doubts that she had earlier were gone when she was on a mission. She had no time to think. The most important thing at the moment was ensuring all the planning Danzo had been doing for the past 40 years finally came to fruition. Momo made sure no one was around before she took out the orb that she carried, revealing Kana. She looked surprised by her reporting so soon, but couldn't delay reporting about one of the lost children who felt out of place in the Hyuga clan. She had to report this. A child like Yui couldn't be ignored, especially since she was lost. "Momo, this better be important," Kana said like a mother who was displeased with her child. "I wouldn't report this, mother, if it wasn't important. There's a lost soul in the human clan who has Uzumaki ancestry. I think she would be susceptible to our cause," Momo said softly. "Who is this woman?" Kana asked, intrigued. "She's a Hyuga with Uzumaki here. She has the mixture of both Uzumaki and Hyuga features. She's your descendant, just like Hinata. She's a lost soul. She is desperate for acceptance, but her clan will never accept her despite how hard she tries. I think your wisdom could save her," Momo said with confidence. "I wish to know her name," she asked. "Her name is Yui," Momo answered. She looked like she was in deep thought. She was like that for what seemed like an eternity until Kana spoke again. "I will decide for myself. If I have to physically meet her, I will. Despite my seal of my eyes, I am more than capable of defending myself against followers of that heretic Natsu," she said with contempt. She doesn't know about Natsu, she doesn't ask. You leave. But mother, this place isn't safe. Evil. She was cut off gently. I'm not defenseless, Momo. Despite my lack of eyesight, I am far stronger than these children of Konoha. Do not worry about my child, I will focus on this woman you have told me about. I will see for myself if she is truly as lost as you say. Your mission is to focus on keeping an eye on Sasuke Uchiha. Remember, do not engage with Orochimaru under any circumstances, he's too strong for you and I don't want his taint to touch you. Kana said worriedly about her well-being. She looked like she was indeed thought she was like that for what seemed like an eternity until Kana spoke again. The exams are about to begin. Get into your position and remember, do not draw attention to yourself. Kana warned. Her image disappeared and Momo was left wondering what her mother said she would be in Konoha. She had to get to the exam building, she had to observe what was going on. She did a jutsu that changed her appearance so that it looked like one of the instructors. They wouldn't notice the difference, and if by some small chance they did, she would be long gone. Espionage was her mission, and as long as she didn't draw attention to herself, they wouldn't know they had one of Kana's children in their ranks. Sasuke noticed someone following them. He turned around and saw a strange boy wearing a green jumpsuit with his headband at his waist, and wrappings on his hands. Sasuke Uchiha. I've been eager to test myself against you. Sasuke didn't think anything of it, he's had many people challenge him over the years, but never someone dressed so ridiculously. This boy is strange, said Kagome. He looked at her with a smile. Out of all the girls, you are the most beautiful. Sasuke couldn't believe it, he went straight to her and took her hand gently. Thanks, she said awkwardly. What's your name? He asked her. Kagome Takahashi, she answered. He said her name over and over again as if to remember it. I hope you're as strong as you are beautiful, Kagome. What the hell was going on, Sasuke thought. Isn't it kind of rude not to introduce yourself after a lady introduces her name? He heard his teammate chastise him. She is a girl with brown hair. She wears a pink sleeveless kipao-style blouse with red sleeve trimmings and yellow fastening buttons, and dark green pants. A pouch is adjusted to her thigh, and her forehead protector and sandals are both blue. Oh sorry, Tenten, I got too into the moment. I backed away, giving you some space. My name is Rock Lee, and I would like to challenge you, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke did not know who this person was. Nobody challenged him like this unless they were foolish or they were confident they could win. Are you sure you want to challenge me? I was on the top of my class this year. Sasuke asked him, not really interested in challenging anyone. This boy was beneath his notice. What about me? I'll give you a challenge, Naruto said, feeling annoyed for being ignored. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Lee declined. I can give you a good fight, Naruto said, still irritated that he was being ignored. Naruto got to his fighting stance and went straight at Lee. He was about to knock Naruto down but Naruto dodged. He went at him again, punching him. He blocked his blow as Naruto jumped over him and did hand signs that created two shadow clones. Closing his eyes, he tried to sense which clone was the real Naruto before striking at it. Naruto was knocked against the wall, but Sasuke got in between them before he could continue fighting. I'll take care of this Naruto, he's obviously too much for you, Sasuke said arrogantly. Bastard. I was just getting warmed up. I can take him, Naruto said irritatedly. I see you are more than what you appear to be. What is your name? He asked as a form of respect to Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, he answered. I'm impressed with your skills, not bad but I don't got time to fight all of you. I just want to fight Sasuke. I hope we get a chance to fight in the exams itself. Naruto lit up as if he was excited at the prospect of fighting him. What was it about this strange person that Naruto found so intriguing? You have my interest now, I'll give you my time but know that you'll likely be completely humiliated. This did not do anything to Rock Lee, if anything this only made him bolder. I've always wanted to prove that hard work overcomes natural talent. Everyone wants to talk about how gifted the Uchihas are. My sensei has beaten Kakashi, one of the most talented ninjas of his generation, about 50% of their bouts. You're going to learn a hard lesson today, Sasuke. Sasuke wasn't concerned, he's heard that talk before. He activated his Sharingan. This would end very fast as if out of nowhere, as if he was teleporting right next to him. What the hell? There's no way he could be this fast. He thought usually with a Sharingan he would be able to see through these sort of things, but what was he using? Ninjutsu, genjutsu? Just what was he dealing with? Your confusion is natural, but no, I'm not using ninjutsu or genjutsu. He kicked Sasuke in the face and he was knocked face down. If it weren't for his lifetime of training, he would be completely down for the count. He instantly got back up. He looked around. Where was he? His speed was crazy. I cannot use genjutsu or ninjutsu. I want to prove to everyone that even someone like me who can only use taijutsu could still be a formidable shinobi. Sasuke was knocked in the air. He was completely powerless for a short amount of time. All of his confidence that he would win this fight easily was shattered. It was over. How can he lose to someone like this? Before he could unleash his technique, he was knocked down. Sasuke was shocked. He didn't know whether to be grateful or disgusted when a turtle appeared before him. Kagome thought it was strange what she was seeing. "Guy-sensei, I'm sorry," the boy said, bowing to his sensei. There's no way it could be the turtle. As if to answer her question, a man appeared who dressed not too much different from his student, except he wore what is traditional for his rank. "The exams haven't started yet, and you were about to unleash your secret technique. What were you thinking?" His sensei scolded him. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to disappoint you," she thought. The scene was strange. One minute he kicked him and the next they were hugging each other. What the hell was going on? Then he looked at them. "You three must be the students of Hinata Hyuga. She has trained you three well." The way he spoke to them was respectful, as if he knew their sensei. "The thing you need to know is that I trained your sensei. I'm the reason she's as strong as she is." What she thought, was it him being arrogant, or was he telling the truth, or was it a combination of both? It was hard for her to tell. But no, he had the means to back it up. She could pick it up based on how he carried himself. He was not someone to be underestimated. "Wait, you're the reason Hinata-sensei is so strong." Naruto's eyes lit up. She rolled her eyes. Did he have to make his infatuation with their sensei so public? "Your sensei is someone of great beauty, isn't she, Naruto?" asked Guy. I. Naruto couldn't even form a coherent sentence that was so embarrassing. "I think you're embarrassing him, sensei," Tenten said, not really happy with his antics. "So this is the boy living with Hinata-sama." She looked and saw a boy who was around 14 years old, wearing a beige shirt, a dull blue shirt underneath that, and mesh armor underneath that. He wore dark brown shorts, blue shinobi sandals, and wrapped bandages around his right arm, chest, and right leg. He tied his hair back in a loose ponytail tied just above the end. He wore a black forehead protector. "So what if I'm living with Hinata-sensei?" Naruto said, not liking his tone. "So you're the teacher's pet, go figure," he said mockingly. "Don't badmouth her," Naruto said dangerously. "What are you going to do? Start a fight? I love to see a failure like you try." Kagome had to say something before Naruto did something rash. "Naruto, stop. He's just trying to provoke you." Naruto looked at her and then relented. "You better hope we don't fight ever in the exams, you are destined to lose." He walked past them, treating him like an ant. Neji is not an opponent to be taken lightly. He graduated at the top of his class. "I can't name many people who could actually beat him," said Lee. "Is he really that strong?" Naruto asked in disbelief. "Yes, he was the top of his class last year. He's not someone to be underestimated. I don't even think Sasuke could beat him," Lee said, adding only salt to the wound over his defeat earlier. He was really that strong. She heard rumors about how strong Neji was, but then again he's part of the same clan as her sensei, so it's natural that someone from their clan would be on top of their class. She found it hard to believe though that Sasuke couldn't touch him, but rumors always have some grain of truth in them, even if at times they're exaggerated. "I hope I get to see you in action, especially Kagome-san." Rock Lee smiled and left the girl with him. These people were trouble. She thought everyone she had seen so far was a potential rival, so many strong opponents made her nervous and excited at the same time. She was so excited that she forgot Naruto's earlier outburst and defensiveness about their sensei. "We should get going, we don't want to be disqualified before we even start," Sasuke said. They left with him soon. She knew the exams would begin and she could test the results of her hard work. She couldn't let her mother down. She was waiting for her students. They were going to arrive any minute now. She knew what she saw in front of her was Neji, her cousin. He was with his team. They weren't on speaking terms. He gave her a cold look and passed by her alone with his team. The disgust that she feels over the cage bird seal on his head shouldn't let what goes on in the clan concern her. It wasn't her concern. The only thing the clan was useful for was clout and prestige, nothing more. But she couldn't help but feel anger at the injustice that Neji and people like him in the Byakugan house have to suffer because of that seal. She sometimes wished she could just be ruthless and cold as he disregarded that thought as soon as she thought about it, wanting to be nothing like him. She saw her sister, who was happy to see her even if it was briefly. "Your team made quite a scene earlier," her sister said with that smile she only knew so well. "I hope they haven't caused too much trouble." Hinata was concerned that she knows how Sasuke is in Naruto. She's grateful Kagome is there to keep them stay out of trouble. "By the way, Naruto was very defensive of you earlier." Hanabi whispered in her ear so nobody could hear them. "What do you mean?" Hinata asked. "I'm sorry, I have to go, sis." She got out as quickly as possible before she could answer her question. It was no secret that Naruto was attached to her and had gotten attached to her in short amount of time. She did not know how to approach the situation. She wanted to believe it was just a harmless crush. After all, she was the first person after Iruka to treat him with any kindness. He was a teenager. She's supposed to have crushes wasn't uncommon. She had plenty of boys that were younger than her who had a crush on her. But they weren't anything but a shallow crush. Naruto is different. She couldn't think about her thoughts for long because her team approached her. They had a look of determination. They were ready for the exams more than ready. "You three being here is good because if only one or two of you were here, you couldn't enter the exams." They all looked confused, which was natural. There were rare exceptions where one or two people could enter the exams, but those were rare. Exceptions, like the case of Itachi Uchiha when he needed to get promoted, but he didn't have a full team so he was a one-man cell. This was at a different time compared to today. The present, no matter what it had to be, was a team of 3 in Konoha. In other nations, it was different. When one or more members of a team have been promoted, the teams have to be swapped for other members in order to make up a 3-man cell unless the rare exceptions in times before the present were geniuses like Kakashi and Itachi were given exceptional treatment, but these weren't these times anymore. Everyone had to be on a 3-man cell, otherwise they couldn't test every aspect of what it means to be a shinobi in the exams. Her students would learn soon enough about the 3 aspects, but she would explain why there needed to be 3 people for this part of the exam because that was her role as their teacher. "Why?" Kagome asked, confused. "Remember, why we had the bell test." Naruto understood what she was getting at. "We are being tested as a team. This exam is testing if we are capable of working with one another and if we have mastered the basic skills that we've been taught since we left the academy." Naruto answered with complete confidence. She was proud of her student and friend, Naruto. He had the potential to be an Hokage someday. He showed leadership qualities. "Yes, but there are other reasons. But I cannot tell you every test that you've been given till now will look easy by comparison to the exams you're about to take. You are going to be tested in multiple different ways. The piece of wisdom I can pass on to all 3 of you is support each other and trust each other. That is the only way you're going to be able to succeed in the exam." Her students nodded as if they understood what she was saying. She was worried, though she didn't know why. She felt something sinister in the air as if there was something dark at work. "We will pass the exams with flying colors, you'll see, sensei. I'll make you proud." His teammates rolled their eyes. "It's probably something that will pass. Naruto wouldn't be the first nor the last to be infatuated with her. Good luck, everyone." They walked past her. She looked at the doors when they passed through them, and there was no turning back. The beginning of the hardest trials of their lives would begin. She walked away from the building where the first exams would be taking place. She couldn't help but feel like someone was following her when she looked. It was nothing. Was she imagining things? "Damn, I keep seeing shadows everywhere," Hinata said out loud. She didn't get a chance to wander for long before she saw a silver-haired man whom she recognized well. "Jiraiya-sama, what have I done to deserve this honor?" she asked him. Rather than speak, he handed her a scroll. She opened it and then read it. He was speaking in code, obviously. She knew what it meant. Him and the Hokage needed to talk at a secure location. She was being careless. Hinata suspected someone was watching her. Red, which was what she was called, was doing everything to keep herself out of sight, but Hinata was trained by a former Abu, she couldn't use the same tactic she could use against anybody else. She was skilled, she could have been a member of their organization, she had the talent for it. Pursuing her wasn't easy, she was obviously going to go to a location that she had no way of getting any intel on how to get there, she would have to report to her master. Hinata's orders were clear, but she had higher priority orders from someone else. She looked at Hinata's team entering the exams, she would observe them for now. Jiraiya was clever, he knew there were spies like her in the village, and there was no way she could do anything. Then she noticed another presence and threw a kunai, which the woman caught with ease. She wore a frog mask. As good as ever, Red. The woman said with cold indifference. Do you have any reason to interfere with my mission, Sakiko? Red asked. The masked woman was obviously not her real name. Like Red, she had long since abandoned such needs for her true identity and a name that she no longer remembered. Danzo-sama wishes for you to continue with your current mission. Watch Team 7 until Hinata appears again, the mission continues as planned. Sakiko said as she disappeared. She took off her mask and saw herself in a mirror. Ever since she laid eyes on Naruto, strange memories appeared. Flashback 13 years ago. If we have a son, I'd like to name him Naruto. If we have a daughter, I'd like to name her Naruko. What do you think? She heard a man ask. There was a woman who was 7 months pregnant with long red hair, lying on his lap and looking at the ceiling of their apartment. I would love for our son Hina and him to make great friends. I wouldn't mind calling her daughter one day, she said with a warm smile. Daughter, isn't that premature? Our child isn't even born yet. The man in her memories asked. But I love you, yeah. Our age gap is big, but would it be such a bad thing for our son to have a mature woman as his wife? She asked playfully. I could see our son falling for a mature woman. I just don't see him falling for someone the same age as him. It runs in our family, said her husband. The couple laughed. She truly loved this man, despite being in her 30s and him being in his early 20s. She loves him greatly, it wouldn't trade him for anything. I love you, the man said to her. I love you too, my beloved Flash, she replied lovingly. She felt a tear fall. Why was she crying? What was this memory? Who was she? Why did it matter? Then she heard a sinister voice. So even Danzo can't suppress memories with that power of his. A man with a sinister sounding voice. Who are you? The woman asked. Are you not curious about who you are? Your memories, which have long since been suppressed, haven't you wondered who you are and where you come from? Have you ever wondered why that blonde boy and the Hyuga woman? Why is your memory surfacing now seeing them? I know who you are. Red, I hold the secret to unlocking your memories. Why do you work for the root? I know what your deepest desires are. Your memories, you desire them back. I can give you back your memories if you work for me. The man offered. I won't betray my village, the woman said with conviction. Oh my poor Red, you have been used as a tool for so long. You are not the woman I remember. The Red I remember would never allow herself to be controlled by someone like Danzo. Think about it, consider my offer. The man said. Your words are poison, Orochimaru. The woman said getting agitated. You're not very like Root Abu, are you? You're not supposed to have emotions yet. You're displaying them now. Interesting. I guess the power of that jutsu has a time limit, its powers are weakening soon. Your memories will fully return. Orochimaru said with amusement. You said my memories are returning, yet earlier you said you can give me back my memories. How do I know that your words aren't literal poison used to deceive me? Red asked, ready to initiate combat. You are wise to be wary of me. Very wise. You'd be a fool to accept everything I say at face value. The memories that you're seeing are those of your previous life, the life that was taken from you by your master. Orochimaru said. Red looked at him. She got into her stance. Orochimaru laughed as if what she was doing was futile and foolish. I am not actually here, I'm just a clone. The real me is with Naruto and the others. You seek answers for your origin, who you truly are, Red. I know your real name, who you were, and what was stolen from you. I even know why you react the way you do towards Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga. I have the answers to the questions that you have had for the past 5 years. Orochimaru said, enjoying her ignorance. Her resolve was weakening. She couldn't detect any lies in his words, but she knew something about her true identity that she had desired for so long. Though she suppressed it because of her roots training, she had been a member of the organization for over 10 years. Orochimaru said 5 years, how is that possible? There are jutsus that can alter memories. You have not been a member of the root for more than 5 years. Why do you think you wear a mask? Why do you think your identity has to be hidden? Why are you forbidden to take off your mask? It's because those who knew you in your previous life would recognize you immediately. He's been lying to you. He had stolen 13 years of your life away from you, life away from your son, life away from your husband. This caused her to attack him, which caused him to laugh in amusement. Lies, 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 she screamed. She heard left her. Deny all you want, my dear. Everything I'm saying is true, even you know it's true. The memories that you saw of a blonde-haired man aren't a lie. The kind of things that genjutsu can do to your mind, alter your memories and make them so you remember things that didn't happen or happened differently. Have you ever wondered why mind-altering jutsu are a forbidden art? Think about it, you are a result of that. You don't even know your real name, you don't even know who you are. Your identity was stolen from you by Danzo, who used my experiments to make you who you are. Orochimaru explained, enjoying her anguish. You have to prove it. I don't believe anything you say, it's all a lie. Red said. When more of your memories surface, you will go to me for answers. And when you do, you will turn on the very people who have stolen your past and future from you. I will give you a hint. You are a famous Kunichi whose rival was an Uchiha. The rest you'll have to figure out on your own. Orochimaru said as he vanished. The memories. Everything couldn't be true, but what if he isn't lying? She didn't like this train of thought at all. She put the mask back on. She couldn't let herself doubt her resolve or Danzo's cause. Orochimaru was lying, he had to be lying. She was trying to convince herself more than anyone, but part of her in her heart knew it was true. The memories that she had been seeing lately were those of a woman who had a husband who loved her and a girl who promised to take care of her son. She couldn't let her resolve waver. She would complete her mission and eliminate Hinata Hyuga by any means necessary. Chapter 16 Naruto's Resolve. The room looks like any other testing room Naruto had been in when he was in the academy. It's big enough to have hundreds of people at a time. There are more people than he has ever seen in one place. There are desks as far as the eye can see. Naruto looks around them. From what he could see, there is anywhere from 150 to 200 people. It's difficult for him to tell. There is fierce competition this year. Naruto looked around him, seeing many strange people he didn't even recognize. Their headbands came from villages he didn't even know existed. There was one girl who caught his eye. Her hair was long and down to her back. It was red. She wore glasses. She seemed to be keeping her distance from everyone she was with, as she was on her team. Then he saw others. Their outfits were so strange that they came from various villages. He even saw a silver-haired boy who looked around the age of 16. His attire was something Naruto thought was strange. He wears a dark purple shirt with a high collar, a white undershirt, and dark purple pants with a white cloth waistband. He also wears dark purple fingerless gloves with armored plates on the back of the hand and a blue forehead protector. He wears a dark purple shirt with a high collar, a white undershirt, and dark purple pants with a white cloth waistband. He also wears dark purple fingerless gloves that have fingers being exposed. The thing that stood out the most was his glasses. He doesn't see much shinobi who wear glasses. The boy noticed him looking at him. So you're part of the team that made a scene earlier? The silver-haired boy asked him. Yes, who are you, Wei? Naruto asked with curiosity. A word of advice, what you did draws unnecessary attention to yourself and your team. I would keep as low a profile as possible. I know from experience, the silver-haired boy said politely. I'm Kabuto Yakushi. I have experience taking the Chunin exams to the point where I have knowledge that might be useful to you. This intrigued Naruto. What was he talking about? Then he took out cards. I have information about various candidates, even on you and your sensei. Naruto, out of curiosity, decided to ask, what information do you have on Hinata Hyuga? Naruto asked just out of curiosity. He flipped the card and Naruto along with everyone was surprised by the amount of A-rank missions and B-rank she completed. No wonder she is a Jonin at the age of 19. Interesting. Is it how young your sensei is? She's very well accomplished. You are fortunate that she's your teacher. His compliment was sincere. What about Rock Lee? Asked Sasuke. He took out another card and was surprised that Rock Lee had an impressive record despite him only being a shinobi for over a year. Wow, those are impressive skills. I'm surprised you aren't part of reconnaissance or intelligence, these are useful. Kagome pointed out. These exams are tough, it is not uncommon for us to take them more than once. This is the 4th time I've taken it. It was that hard. No, Naruto thought he was going to pass on his first try. He wasn't going to take it multiple times, not if he had anything to say about it. What about Gaara and Temari? Kagome asked him. He went one step beyond, he did the entire Sand siblings. Naruto was shocked they were powerful. Their record was impressive for their age. They are possibly the strongest team here. I would advise staying as far away from them as possible. They are no joke, their strength is not to be trifled with. Especially Gaara, his mission report says he has completed every mission without a scratch on his body, he's ruthless and efficient in how he deals with his enemies. He's not someone I would want to mess with, I would advise you to stay as far away from him as possible. This made Naruto more determined. He was not going to be scared. Out of nowhere, Kabuto collapsed on his knees and part of his glasses broke. Naruto looked around. The person responsible was behind that team with a headband emblazoned with the symbol of sound. The first among them was a boy named Dosu, who was hard to tell his age. He had bandages covering most of his face, leaving only his left eye and eyebrow uncovered. He also wore a large poncho with long sleeves, a snake-patterned scarf around his neck, and a straw raincoat protruding from the back of his scarf. The second one to his right was a boy named Zaku who had spiky black hair and dark eyes. He wore a beige shirt with 2 black stripes and 3 prints of the kanji for death down the front. His forehead protector had an attached happuri under the cloth rather than connected to the metal plate, resembling as with his teammates he wore a snake-patterned scarf around his neck. Last was a girl who went by the name Kin to his left, had fair skin, black eyes with very long black hair, almost reaching down to her calves, tied by a violet ribbon right near the end. She wore a forehead protector, a pale green vest somewhat similar to a flak jacket, snake-patterned pants with a snake-patterned skirt over it, and a snake-patterned scarf around her neck, much like her teammates. Pathetic. Is this what we can expect from Konoha ninja? Dosu said mockingly to everyone who was from Konoha, which caused Naruto to want to stand up and fight him. However, Kabuto put his hand on Naruto, saying, "He's trying to provoke you, don't fall for the bait." How was he able to remain calm? Naruto wondered. You have information on us, don't you? Kabuto remained calm, not saying anything or responding. I don't have much on you unfortunately, he admitted, which they didn't buy. We should teach these kids a lesson about messing with us. Before the sound of ninja doing anything there was a voice that silenced everyone and everyone knew better than to anger the man in front of them. All right, that's enough. If anyone tries to start a fight at this point, you'll be disqualified from the exams. He said with a voice that left no room for anyone to argue. Everyone was silent. He has a large, imposing figure, which he complements with a rugged head and face covered in old wounds and scars. His forehead is covered by his forehead protector, which he assumed it is to cover up scars on his head. I'm going to be the examiner of this exam this year. My name is Ibiki Morino. How unfortunate for you kids. But I'm the one that's the examiner. The room was silent, nobody dared to speak. This is the start of the Chunin exams. The first test that you will all be taking will be a written test. There are people here that will make sure that nobody cheats. As a whole your team can earn as much as 30 points, get below the double digits and you will all fail. A written test. Naruto was panicking. He was awful at taking written test. Out of all the things that he was forced to do a written test, he would rather do anything but that. Here are the numbers, you will take them and you will go to your assigned seats and remember my warning. The examiner said with an implied threat. Everyone sat on their assigned seats and everyone was handed a sheet of paper which had 10 questions. One last thing, you will be given an hour to answer all of them. The 10th question will be revealed at the end. Naruto sighed with relief. That still wouldn't help him with the other 9 questions. How would he answer them? He looked at everything, but none of it helped him understand any of the questions. How could he? This was ridiculous. How could he answer these? It was almost like this was setting him up to fail. No, he couldn't let a bunch of questions that he had difficulty answering stop him from getting to his goal. Karen looks at all these questions. It was child's play, though her teammates unfortunately would not be able to answer these questions. There were so many chakra signatures around her, some of them were pleasant, others were nauseating. She did not like being in close proximity with this many people, especially certain ones having an aura that is dark, such as the red-haired boy who was in front of her. There was a girl next to her whose hair was black. She must have been the teammate of the blonde-haired boy a few desks down. There's no way she could fail. She wrote all of the answers down. It was easy, a little too easy, though her teammates would need help, and she came to the conclusion that most of the people here probably couldn't answer the questions without cheating. The real purpose of this test was intelligence gathering. How efficient is everyone here at doing it without getting detected? Cheating wasn't penalized, it was getting caught and being careless. Karen knew better than to be careless. She put down her pencil when she was done answering the 9th question and waited for the hour to pass by before the 10th question would be presented to everyone. She would have to, of course, have the appearance that she was still struggling to answer the question, because after all, part of what makes being a good shinobi is the ability to do deception and hide in plain sight. Hanabi was confident that her team would succeed. After all, Shino with his bugs could easily reconnoiter and help his team. Akamaru could use his hearing and sense of smell to assist Kiba in finding the answers. Hanabi, with her Byakugan, could easily find the answers, so she wrote them down as quickly as possible so she wouldn't get caught. It was almost too easy. She wrote it all down as quickly as she could so she would not get caught. It would kill the purpose of taking the exam only to fail at the very beginning and possibly the easiest section. She noticed a bug that informed her of the answers being correct. She wondered if Naruto, Hinata's student and friend, would be able to figure this out. She hoped so. She wouldn't want her sister's faith in Naruto to be misplaced. She would love to face him if given a chance, but that couldn't happen unless he passed. However, she wasn't going to help him now if he isn't smart enough to figure that out. It was his problem and his team, not hers. She waited for the 10th question. She wondered what it was. Something told her it would be something obvious, but she couldn't say why. Why give the 10th question at the end? This perplexed her, so she waited patiently as more and more candidates were eliminated. With his Sharingan, Sasuke was able to easily copy the answers from the person in front of him. It was easy when the perks about the Uchiha eyes. He hoped Naruto would be able to figure it out, that the only way to pass the test was to cheat. Sasuke managed to figure it out almost immediately. More candidates were being eliminated, so many careless people. Sasuke couldn't go too fast because he would get caught, but he couldn't go too slow because he would get caught. Testing every potential Chunin to see if they are capable of reconnaissance is a good way to weed out the incompetent and careless among those in the exams. One of the most important aspects of being a shinobi is to be able to do reconnaissance without getting caught. Stealth is also an important attribute that every skill was being tested and revolved around. It doesn't matter how good the fighters were here, if they weren't able to do basic things that were expected from all shinobi, they were expected to do all sorts of missions, much more than what was expected out of Chunin. It wasn't something for glory-seeking fools who did not care about the goals of the mission or the security of the village. If he couldn't pass this exam, which is child's play, he can never get to his ultimate goal. He hopes that Naruto is able to figure this out on his own, and hopes Hinata's one-on-one lessons instilled in him patience and the ability to figure basic things out, like the ability to gather information without getting caught. He had to have faith in Naruto's ability, because not doing so would admit that his sensei isn't deserving of the respect she is expected to have from her students. If his sensei believes in Naruto, then he will as well, because to do otherwise would be a disservice. Kagome had no idea how she was going to answer these questions. She doesn't have any ability to find the answers to the questions without getting detected. She knew cheating was the only option in order to pass, but how was she going to do so that she doesn't have Sasuke's Sharingan, nor does she have a jutsu that she suspects Naruto had invented for this specific purpose? Mission gathering wasn't something she would think she'd ever be good at. Unlike her other teammates, she was at a severe disadvantage. Damn it, I hate written tests. Despite getting good test scores, she always hated written tests more than anything. They were long, they were tedious, and in this instance, these questions were so advanced that you would have to at least be a Jonin to answer them without cheating, or be someone who is extremely talented. She was stuck. There was no way she would be able to answer these questions. Time was ticking. As long as her team could answer the 10th question, they can still pass. Even if she couldn't answer the rest, I'm sorry Naruto and Sasuke, I can't answer any of these questions. She crossed her fingers hoping that her teammates could pull through because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to move on to the second exam. Her mother needed her if she could get promoted, it would make things a lot easier financially. She cannot fail. Please don't let us down, Naruto. We're depending on you. I'm depending on you. Kagome said only for herself to hear, hoping that Naruto figures out the obvious in time and doesn't do anything foolish or rash. Naruto knew time was running out, there were only 20 minutes left, and he had not made any progress. He couldn't answer the questions, he read them over and over again, but he still wasn't close to finding a clear answer to any of them. There had to be one question he could answer besides the 10th one. Damn it. This is much more difficult than I expected. I've never been good at written tests. How is he going to get himself out of this one? Why not use that jutsu you've been training with in the past month? QB suggested. He knew what he was suggesting, the technique Naruto had not perfected yet, which was dangerous potentially. They may be able to detect if I use such a technique, Naruto hissed. The jutsu is not for combat, it's designed specifically for a situation like this, reconnaissance. I suggest you use it. What's the harm? QB asked. The harm is if I'm careless, I could get myself and my entire team disqualified. I've never used this technique in a situation like this, it's too much of a risk. Naruto said. It's that mentality is why she will not look at you as a man. Do you want to be respected? Do you want her to see you as more than just a student, so she could see you as anything but a boy? Kid, you must be willing to take a risk. Everybody else is doing it, even your own team. They are depending on you. You will never know if this technique you have developed will work if you haven't even tested it. Out for real. You want her to be proud of you. You want me to be proud. Be a man and test the damn technique and stop being scared, little boy. QB said, irritated with Naruto's fear of failure. Damn you, you damn fox. You just had to weaponize Hinata against me. Damn it. Fine, I'll do it, Naruto said angrily. If he was careless with the amount of chakra he used, he would be detected instantly and his entire team would fail the exam before they even got to the next stage. He couldn't afford to fail, but he also knew that he was right, so he put his left index finger on his nose and closed his eyes and casted the jutsu he had experimented with. All around him, he was able to feel people's chakra. It almost gave him a second sight. It wasn't like the Byakugan. It didn't work that way, but he was able to through sound be able to see the answers. There were multiple people who had all the answers, but which ones should he copy? There was a red-haired girl with red eyes and glasses. She had just finished answering all the questions he would copy from her. He wasn't thinking when he wrote it, he just did. He wrote every answer down. It took him longer due to him not wanting to have his handwriting be illegible. When he was done, there was only a few minutes left. Your handwriting is horrible, I could barely read that, QB commented. Naruto knew his handwriting was abysmal, but he had to rush to get it done now. He wondered what the 10th question meant. What does signify mean? Why is it so important that it's revealed at the end? It had to be some sort of trick question or something that tested someone's resolve, otherwise, the question would have already been answered by somebody by now. Just what more did these people want? Time was ticking, it felt like an eternity before Ibiki broke the silence. Now the time is here for the 10th question, but before that I will warn you there will be drastic consequences should you answer the question wrong. There was quiet mumbling amongst the candidates. Naruto was nervous and he was prepared at the same time. His sensei did tell him this would be the hardest trial he had ever faced up until this point. He wouldn't fail, he couldn't face Hinata, otherwise he wants to make her proud. Let me explain this rule. Absolute first, you must choose whether to accept or reject the 10th question. Naruto could tell from his demeanor that he was a master at psychological torture. He was one of those out of all the people he had to deal with, a man who deals with torturing prisoners of war. Accept or reject. What the hell was he talking about? What is the point of the 10th question? Sasuke would get his answer. If you reject the question and don't even try to answer it, you lose all your points immediately. If you fail, both you and your teammates will fail right along with you. Sasuke had come too far to fail now. Answering in the 10th question should be a walk in the park compared to what his ultimate goal is. No, He would take his chances assuming his other teammates wouldn't reject. He didn't care what the question was. He wasn't going to run away or give up. He had come too far, so he had to get stronger. He had to know where his current skills were. His brother was able to pass this exam at a younger age, and even Kakashi was able to do it if they did it. So nothing was going to get in his way. He would pass, and his teammates will give it either. They may take their chances because Team 7 are not cowards. Everyone can fail if she were to reject the question and not even try. Kagome couldn't do that. Her mother needed her, so she couldn't fail. She would not reject the question. She didn't give a damn what the consequences would be. She would take her chances. She heard other people voice objections. You're saying we could fail even if we answer the rest of the questions correctly. That is bullshit. What was the point of answering the rest of the questions then? Asked a girl with short black hair. There's a reason for that. It's because of the other rule. She was almost scared of what he was going to reveal next. What was he going to reveal? If you try to answer the question and get it wrong, you'll never be permitted to apply for the Chunin exams again. You will be deemed unfit and will remain a genin for the rest of your life. For the rest of his life as a genin. He could never face Hinata. He can never be a man. He heard Kiba from Team 8 voice his outrage. This is some bullshit. There are people who have taken the exam before but they're here now. What do you take us for? That was a good question Naruto wanted to ask, but he resisted asking the question. Unfortunately for you, luck isn't on your side this year. I make the rules this time. You can take a failing grade now and try again later. Naruto didn't think that was acceptable. It wasn't acceptable to him. He would not give in to fear. If you were smart, you would reject the question right now and come back next year and the year after that to try again. You might have a chance then, and who knows? I may not be the examiner. The cold and calculated look Naruto looked around him, fear in the atmosphere. He was scared he truly was. How can he possibly be worthy of Hinata if he is forever a genin? Even if he ever becomes a man, what choice does he possibly have? It wasn't just his dream that was on the line but his pride as a man. Those who choose not to accept should raise their hands right now. It is your last chance to turn back, and if even one of you raises your hand, all of you on your team will be disqualified. The atmosphere was tense. He saw a quarter of the candidates that were left leave. Fearfully, he wondered what this test was. What was this question? There had to be a point. What was the point in doing the 10 questions? Then Naruto thought it didn't matter his pride as a man, his dream he couldn't ever face Hinata if he were to raise his hand in defeat. He raised his hand, everyone was surprised including his team, and Naruto slammed his right hand on the table, shocking everyone. The examiner looked at him with interest, wondering what Naruto would say. I will not be a coward and run. I didn't came all the way here just to run with my tails between my legs. I'll answer your damn question. I don't care if I end up a genin for the rest of my life. I would rather have that happen than degrade myself and lose my pride as a man. I'm not afraid of you. It was hard to read the man's expression. He looked impressed of Naruto's resolve, though he only showed it briefly, but he pressed one last time. Are you sure you want to do this? This decision will affect you for the rest of your life and your comrades still have a chance. I will never go back on my word, that's my shinobi way. I am not a boy anymore, I am a man. Ibiki was impressed by the boy's resolve. He wasn't going to quit. Everyone was mumbling, shocked, surprised and inspired. He had not seen anybody as brave as Naruto in the years he had seen shinobi in the village. He was willing to risk everything. He was definitely shinobi material. He waited for others to leave. They weren't willing to take a chance like him. He couldn't help but think of the boy's sensei Hinata Hyuga, who in this very room who stood her ground. That was 6 years ago. I refuse to allow anything get in my way. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the 10th question. I'm not a child anymore. I will let nothing hold me down. I won't back now. I will not be a failure, and I refuse to live my life in fear. Do your worst, Hinata said at age 13. The princess of the Hyuga clan, are you really going to take a chance? You could lose everything as a result of your choice. Tell me, girl, is it really worth throwing away your future? Ibiki asked her, testing her resolve. I will not disgrace Kushina-san or Minato-san by acting like a child. I'm no longer a child. The moment I was given my forehead protector, I became a shinobi. Do your worst, Hinata challenged. Everyone was shocked that the normally shy and timid girl stood up to him. He was impressed by her courage, as she had no fear in her eyes. Her clan saw her as a failure, but he saw potential in her. Are you sure you want to take a risk and lose everything? I won't be blamed for the consequences of your choice. Ibiki asked her. I don't care. I'd rather die than disgrace myself. Hinata said without fear. Seeing Naruto now, he couldn't help but be reminded of Hinata, the 13-year-old girl who stood in the same spot that he was. Was it a coincidence? And just like her student, Naruto, standing his ground without the look of fear in his eyes, there was another thing he noticed about Naruto. It was no secret that Naruto was infatuated with her, it was obvious on the day she became his sensei. The incident from a few days ago, when he made her laugh for the first time, this boy wanted acknowledgement from her not as a shinobi but as a man. Disgracing himself by withdrawing now would only reinforce that he was a boy. However, Naruto, the blonde-haired young man in front of him, wanted to be a man before his time. He was not impressed with most of the candidates he saw giving up one by one because of fear. He had nothing but contempt for them and was glad they were walking out, as he had no need for cowards or children who were willing to back out at the first opportunity. Naruto, like Hinata before him, was willing to risk remaining a genin for the rest of his life rather than disgrace himself. His speech from earlier was making others do the same. He was happy to see more candidates, the normal willing to do the same as Naruto taking a chance. Out of 200 candidates there were 78 more than usual, but it was the same as when Hinata was in the room, and also the same with his parents. He smiled. 78 wasn't bad. He thought 78 individuals willing to take a chance on one of the requirements of the exam being having guts and the people that actually were worthy of moving on to the next exam, but not before they knew the purpose. You just passed the first exam, Ibiki said, announcing the end of the exam. Naruto couldn't believe what he had just heard. 78 of you still hear you. I'm impressed more than I expected to be. Ibiki said. What do you mean we passed? What happened to the 10th question? I don't get it, asked Kagome, confused as he was. There is no 10th question beyond the whole accept or reject thing, he answered with a smile. Hey, why did we have to suffer through the other 9 questions? That was a total waste of our time, said Tamari. I assume all of you figured out early that you had to cheat in order to answer all the questions. For this purpose it was to see if you could gather intelligence and steal without being caught, and you were punished if you were clumsy, and that's why those who failed before are even given the chance to answer the 10th question. Oh, I know you all want me to answer the 10th question. Let me explain the 10th question. It was a choice between 2 options. There are situations where there are 2 choices. Sometimes there are none. This question is to test those on how they can deal with a no-win scenario. So why did I present it to you? So I could see who is worthy of the rank of Chunin, because those who are willing to give up at the first opportunity are not anyone that should ever be shinobi. Naruto agreed with this. Chunin cannot take easy jobs and they cannot pick and choose what missions they can take. There will be missions you cannot decline. A ninja must demonstrate valor that inspires those around them, helping all to overcome their fear. This is what we must value in a Chunin cell. Those who can't gamble with their own fate, who would trade today's certain risk for tomorrow's uncertain future, never trying to take chances that lies before them, are cowards who only make easy decisions. In my opinion, they don't belong to the ranks of Chunin at all. You all passed with flying colors. He looked at Naruto almost as if he was saying the next words to him and him alone. The next challenge ahead of you will make this one look easy. My part in this is over. Right as he said it, a woman appeared. Her appearance was really flashy. She broke the desk that the instructor was standing by. She was a woman. You're here so soon, Anko, he said, generally shocked that she was there early. Anko is an average-sized, young woman who was of slender frame. She has light brown, pupil-less eyes. Her hair, black with a violet, styled in a short, spiky, fanned-out ponytail. She wore a custom-made outfit that is crafted of thin metal mesh to fit the lines of her body, that covers her from neck to thigh. Over this, she typically wears a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange mini skirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. In addition to the typical forehead protector, she also wears a small pendant that looks like a snake fang. More than I expected. You've gotten soft, Ibik, he responded with a smile on his face. What kind of smile? Naruto did not know. Perhaps these kids are different this year, she responded with a sadistic smile at everybody. Oh, for those of you who survived the first exam, you'll wish you haven't, because the next exam most of you won't be advancing. Come kids. I'm taking you at the entrance at the next exam. Naruto is excited. He didn't care what kind of obstacles this woman would throw at him, he would pass and would be promoted to Chunin and would be one step closer to stand by Hinata's side as her equal. Momo made sure to follow them. She wasn't surprised that Hinata's team passed the exam. Her mother was able to foresee this outcome. Blending in with the rest of the students was child's play. She did have to keep her distance from those of Jonin rank. She would not be able to easily fool them, so she would have to be careful, especially around the examiner of the second exam. She was given specific instructions not to engage with Orochimaru under any circumstances, but she felt him somewhere. A confrontation with him would be inevitable. Kana wouldn't like it, but she had to keep Sasuke safe. He was the last of the Uchiha. Hinata, she figured, can protect herself despite her orders to keep an eye on her as well. Sasuke came first. The boy Naruto's intriguing to her. She would like to learn more about him, but that was not her mission. Seeing him stand up to the instructor, she couldn't help but feel inspired. It was so strange though, she was only a few years older than him. No. She disregarded that thought. Her devotion to Kana came first before anything. She was impressed with his team's ability to get all the answers without getting detected. Hinata had trained them well. She was determined to meet her face to face when she has the chance. She resented the fact that she had to maintain the disguise of one of the examiners, but it was necessary for her mission. Nobody knew that someone behind their ability was in their ranks for all day now. She is a man in his early 20s. This was child's play. She waited eagerly for the next examination order to make it easier for her to accomplish her mission. That was child's play, said Sai. It was easy. The questions were so simple that he didn't even have to try to answer them. In fact, he didn't bother answering them because he knew what the outcome of the exam would be. His team, keeping a low profile, were mingling with the other candidates. He wondered what was the point in all this. Surely there was better ways to determine who would be qualified to be a Chunin. Danzo, if he had it his way, would weed out the stupid and the weak by having them face each other in a death match. That was how they did it en route to kill emotions and weed out the weakest members. Things would change once Danzo became the Hokage. Sai though didn't really care one way or the other. Emotions were alien to him, a foreign concept he was curious about but discouraged from such things because of harsh training. One part of the mission was over, and the next part that Danzo assigned them was about to begin. If Sasuke had to be eliminated, the Forest of Death would be the perfect place to do it, because who would know? There were no witnesses, but that was a secondary objective. The primary objective was reconnaissance. That Naruto kid is certainly something, isn't he? Hakobe said curiously. Just like that, his sensei is a waste. Someone like him should have joined the Root organization instead of having Hinata under her wing. It would have made things much easier for us. Tanuki said, thinking it was a waste of Hinata's talents not being part of the Root organization. We could blame Itachi for that, Hakobe said contemptuously of the traitor who massacred his entire clan in a single night. The only thing that's important at this time is that we've completed the first phase of our operation. Our main purpose is reconnaissance, nothing else matters. Sai said, cutting off the conversation. The first exam was child's play, but the second one will be even more so. Let's get into formation for the examiners to get suspicious. Tanuki said. Sai was completely in agreement. They went where the other candidates were, and blended in. It was easy. He was looking forward to the next part of the exam due to it being more of a challenge and a change of scenery. He was hoping to have a chance to talk to Naruto at least once. He wanted to know what about this Hinata woman made her so appealing. He was determined to find out. The only way he would be able to find out is to observe Naruto and talk to him about his emotions, which was never his strong suit. It was difficult for him because I just wanted to know what are these emotions that he felt towards that woman. He found emotions like love to be foreign and things to be difficult for him to understand. He was always told that it was unnecessary to understand though, because he was en route, but his fascination continued regardless of the discouragement from his peers. He wanted to understand it. He felt like he was obligated to do so because emotions is one of the key components of what it means to be human. He never knew his parents, and the closest thing he ever had to family was his brother. He wanted to understand what did he feel towards him. Ever since his passing, he has not been able to understand what he's going through. He reluctantly kept the book that he always had on him he never was able to complete because his brother died before it was completed. Maybe someone out there would be able to understand him or maybe not, either way, had nothing to do with his mission. He purged that thought from his mind for now and focused on task at hand. An hour and a half earlier while the first exam was happening. All three of them were in a place of unknown origin. Hinata had no idea where they were. It wasn't just her, there was a few others, it was Kakashi and someone she did not recognize. He wore the standard attire of the Anbu, a black, sleeveless jumper under a gray flak jacket with strapped-up shinobi sandals, arm-length gloves with guards over them. He carried a sword strapped to his back, and wore a mask that resembles a cat's face covered in green, and red intricate markings, and the Anbu tattoo on his left shoulder. "Everyone here that I can trust, so we can start this meeting," Hiruzen said as he put out his pipe. "Just what is going on? Can someone tell me? I'm confused." Hinata asked everyone in the room. "There's a reason why we have to have this meeting in an undisclosed location. Danzo has spies on every corner," the man with cat mask said in a business-like manner. "Do I have a feeling things are going to go from bad to worse? What is Danzo up to?" Hinata asked, concerned about that tense atmosphere in the room. Kakashi took a deep breath, same with Hiruzen. "We don't have any proof, but we suspect that Danzo is collaborating with Orochimaru and has been collaborating with him for years," Kakashi said. When things couldn't get any worse, she was terrified of Root and Orochimaru. Considering what they were capable of, she had heard dark rumors about the organization. What terrified her more than anything is how close she came to joining the organization. "You have potential, Hinata. Your father is a fool not to see it. You are talented, and your talents are wasted doing these worthless missions when you could be using your talents for the root." The idea that she could have been part of that organization in a different life scared her more than she wanted to admit, but the one thing that prevented her from joining was what happened on that terrible night with Itachi when she had nothing to do with an organization that he was a part of. "After all these years, it still feels like I'm in Itachi's shadow," Hinata said out loud. "Do not blame yourself for what happened that night. You could not have done anything to stop what he did," said Hiruzen, knowing what Hinata was thinking. "I'm sorry, let's focus on the present," Hinata said apologetically, trying to focus the conversation on the current affairs instead of the past. "There's one other thing that I need to discuss with everyone. Whatever I'm about to tell all of you, it cannot leave this room." Jiraiya looked at them bravely. It couldn't get any worse, Hinata thought. "What is it?" Kakashi asked. "All I have is speculation and rumors. I had Hinata come here because she apparently knows the goddess mother Kana. Her influence is spreading already, so she should be dead. She didn't want to discuss it. She didn't want to remember her failure at the Sapphire mission. She didn't want to think about how helpless she was when she faced the awesome power of the most powerful Kunichi that has ever existed. She's alive. That's impossible," Kakashi said, not believing it. "The cult of Kana has always had followers, even here in Konoha. She's considered the mother of all. The immortal queen of the Hyuga clan is considered a myth, but those in the clan know something we don't." "You must know something, do you, Hinata?" asked Jiraiya. "She's not a name that the clan likes to mention. It's considered blasphemy to even mention Kana, the younger sister of Natsu Hyuga," Hinata said, remembering the lessons her mother instilled into her about the tragedy of the split of the clan into two houses. "Wait, the younger sister of Natsu? Are you saying she's 300 years old?" Kakashi asked in disbelief. "That's impossible. No human being can live that long," said Hiruzen, not wanting to believe it. "It's true. It's not the history that Konoha wants to remember. It was agreed upon in my clan to bury the history of Kana. Without her, our village would not exist. She helped founded it with Hashirama and Madara. The village as we know it would not exist without her," Hinata said, not wanting to believe it herself and didn't believe it until she saw her with her own eyes. An immortal being who looks the same as she did when she turned 25 and hasn't aged since. How is that even possible? How does someone stop aging? Jiraiya asked. "I don't know. The secrets of immortality among our clan are a deep-held secret, not even the head of the clan is allowed to divulge it to anyone. If I did, I wouldn't tell you," said Hinata. "Is this Byakugan queen the last queen, the mother of Natsu and Kana?" asked Kakashi. "No, the last queen wasn't still as Kana," Hinata answered. Not much is known about Kana, even among my clan. Very few information has survived the centuries. The only thing I know about her is that she's a benevolent mother figure who sees all as her children. Hinata said, not really wanting to believe it, since no hostility or killing intent from the woman. She was so powerful, even with her power sealed, that she could easily have killed her and all of her companions without breaking a sweat. I think it was a good idea, Hinata, that you kept this information to yourself. It sounds so far-fetched that I have a difficult time wrapping my mind around it, an immortal woman who is worshipped as a goddess and has followers behind her back. If it were ever found out that she exists, it would cause mass panic. You made the right call, Hinata. Hiruzen said. I can't help but feel like I failed, but I couldn't do anything when I faced her. It was like I was facing a goddess. The power she had didn't compare to anything I've ever encountered before. Like I could die just by being in her presence if she wished it. It was like being in the presence of a god. Hinata said, shivering at the memory of the golden lion fist, a powerful variation of the lion fist, so powerful that lesser beings lose the will to fight just by seeing it. What do we do about her? Kakashi asked. We do nothing for now because the threat that concerns us most right now is Danzo and Orochimaru. Hiruzen said, bringing the subject back to Hollows as it originally began. We must do something about Danzo. Hinata insisted. We can't be hasty. If we do, we play into his hands, the Hokage said. We don't know who's part of Root. They're very secretive. We didn't even know Itachi was part of the organization until after the massacre. There's a lot we don't know about the organization, even after it was disbanded. Hiruzen said. We must do something about Danzo. Hinata insisted. We can't be hasty. If we do, we play into his hands, the Hokage said. She remembered before, the Sapphire mission confronting the Hokage about Naruto's treatment and how her anger when she snapped at the Hokage in front of Danzo. I'm sorry, Hokage-sama. I feel like I'm at fault here to a degree. Had I not barged in when I did, maybe. Hiruzen didn't allow her to finish. Yes, you were impulsive, which was out of character for you. But you were doing what you felt was right at the time because of Naruto's neglect and what he had been through, and how you were trying to fulfill a promise you made to Kushina. I believe Danzo intentionally timed the confrontation with me as he did because of his spies reporting your reaction when you learned the truth. I'm not going to say I'm not guilty for not telling you the truth, but I feel like you are not to blame in this instance. I am, Hiruzen said, trying to reassure her, but it didn't help. I helped put Naruto in even greater danger because of this. He's a target I can't help but take blame for. I'm his. She didn't finish. Kakashi put his hand on her shoulder. You don't have to do this alone, Hinata. You have friends and you should have faith in your team. Sasuke and Kagome will look after Naruto. Kakashi said. I can't help but worry about him. Hinata said. If we act too hastily, it will play into Orochimaru's hands. We have to be patient and only make our move when we have enough information to do so. Said the masked man. Agreed. We can't really do anything until we have more information. For now, we should act like we don't know anything and make the enemy believe that we don't know anything. Jiraiya agreed. I'm getting too old for this. I think it's time for me to retire after this is dealt with. I'm going to give the reins to my successor. He looked at Jiraiya, who wasn't pleased with the prospect. I'm sorry, sensei, but I don't want to be Hokage. I know someone else who would be better than me, but I can't find her right now. Not at this time. Hinata knew he was referring to Tsunade. Bring her back, then, Jiraiya. Whatever you have to do, bring her back. We cannot afford any delays. Danzo will either appoint himself or someone of his choosing as his successor. We cannot trust him not to do that. Bring her back in any way you can, Jiraiya. Time is at essence. Hiruzen said as the matter was settled. I will have to meet up with my contact. He should be able to help me find her. Hinata wondered who he was referring to. Be discreet about it, Jiraiya. We cannot afford any attention to be brought. Under no circumstances can Danzo find out we are searching for Tsunade. Hiruzen warned. I always keep a low profile, sensei. Jiraiya said with a smile. Hinata, can you do me a favor? Jiraiya asked her. You know what he was going to ask. What is it, Jiraiya-sama? Hinata asked. The technique that Minato learned, which Kushina named, is the one I taught you. I want you to pass it on to Naruto. I may not have the opportunity to do so because of my search for Tsunade. He may need it in the exams themselves, especially in the finals. Jiraiya said as he did his hand signs and did the reverse summoning and left. It's time that we all leave, being gone for too long will draw unwanted attention, said Kakashi as he took his leave, along with the masked man who was with him. All that was left was Hinata and Hiruzen. Nothing was said between them as Hinata left, wondering and thinking about the redhead woman who wore the fox mask. She had a bad feeling she was going to learn something terrible in the future. After the end of the exam, saw the entrance to the forest of death, her students took their first step. She was proud of them. That Naruto boy, you certainly inspired him. He greatly respects and admires you. It was only 6 years ago when she took the exam. Ibiki-san, I hope you weren't too harsh on them. He chuckled at what she said was amusing. That Naruto kid is the reason there are 78 candidates. He has a power to inspire people, and he could be a great Hokage one day if he wanted to. Ibiki said, which confused Hinata. What do you mean, Ibiki-san? Hinata asked, confused about what he meant. He has a great admiration for you. I've never seen that kind of devotion to any student, or his sensei. Well, I have seen it before with Minato and Kushina. Ibiki said, remembering witnessing the younger man fighting for his sensei's respect and acknowledgement as a man. Hinata remembers that well for what she was told about Minato and Kushina's relationship. I don't know what you mean. I do what any sensei they would do for their students. Hinata said, including living with them. Asked Anko. Yeah, I do find it strange but I understand your reasoning. Ibiki said. Oh, come on, it's nothing like that, Hinata said defensively. Relax, I was just teasing. It's probably nothing, besides he's too young anyway. Boy, it's not like he has a chance. Anko joked. Hinata, I would like to catch up with you when there is ever a chance. It's been too long. Her friend Anko was more of a big sister and one of her biggest supporters. She was one of the other people who recommended her for the rank of Jonin. Oh my little sister, she has finally grown up and now she has her own team. Hinata blushed at her compliments. Please, you're embarrassing me, Anko-chan. Her face was turning red as Ibiki laughed. It's good that you're smiling again. Anko said. Your student started a fuss that angered most of the civilian council. I'm not going to lie, people on my team were betting if Naruto would successfully make you laugh at all. I made a lot of money that day thanks to that boy, said Ibiki. As much as I would like to catch up, I have to put your students through another hellish test. She understood that she wouldn't hold it against her. She has full faith in her team. I don't hold anything against you. I think my students will pass this exam with flying colors just like the first one. She said with confidence, though she couldn't publicly show how much she feared for her students. Well, when this is over, we'll catch up. Anko bid her farewell and went to where all the candidates were in order to explain to them the purpose of the next exam. Someone was watching her, and she didn't know why. She couldn't put her finger on it. She looked behind a bush and saw nothing. She couldn't be imagining things. Someone had been watching her for God knows how long. This person could be the same one who's after Naruto and Sasuke. She couldn't leave this place. She would stay nearby in order to make sure nobody who shouldn't be in the forest of death was there. She would stay, she was told by the Hokage before she left on their council to keep an eye for any suspicious activity with the Byakugan. It should be easy to do so. She would keep her distance so as not to be spotted. The second exam she knew would be the most dangerous potentially for her students. Please be careful, especially you Naruto-kun, Hinata said, worrying for his safety. She would do whatever it takes to protect Naruto, and she would do so by any means necessary. It's the least she can do for him, and she promises she will not go back on her word. Itachi Uchiha was in a forest, sitting near a fire and looking at the sky. He didn't do this often due to Kisame being a watchdog for the Akatsuki. The rare times he was alone, he looked at the sky wondering how Hinata was doing. In 5 years since the massacre, he replayed every scenario possible that could have been done differently, but he couldn't think of anything different. You're still thinking about that night, aren't you? Asked a voice behind him. He got into a defensive position and then realized it was the same woman from before, the seer of Luna Village. Why are you here, Misaki? Asked Itachi. To remind you, boy, that choices have consequences. Your rash decision nearly doomed our world and another clan. Your obsession with preventing the future almost made the future you're trying to prevent happen. She reminded him. I did what was necessary to protect her soul. Itachi said, defending his actions. Defending her soul. Do you know what her future was before its course was altered? Itachi wasn't in the mood for her games. I'm not in the mood for your games. Itachi said angrily. Oh, you know what I'm referring to. Itachi, the woman that you tried to save from becoming a monster. She was one day away from becoming that monster until a certain boy got into her life, a boy who made her laugh for the first time in 5 years, a boy who started the process of healing. You are fading from her heart, Itachi. The woman said to him. He expected this and did not want Hinata to not move on from him because she deserved better. You don't come here to tell me about the future changing, you're obviously here for another reason. Out with it, woman. Itachi said impatiently. Remember when I told you that the future is always in motion? I told Hinata the same thing. A woman's refusal to accept anyone in her heart would make her into a monster. That future is no longer going to come to pass, but another person is destined to become this. The woman said. What are you talking about? Itachi asked. I won't give you the answer. I came here to warn you, Itachi, you will have to confront your past and you will have to confront it sooner than intended. The past will come back to you whether you like it or not. The choice that you made the night you destroyed your clan and broke the heart of the woman you love, you will have to face those repercussions sooner than later. The woman said. I did everything I could to prevent that future from coming to pass. The woman continued to laugh at his ignorance. Oh, you foolish boy. The future you were trying to prevent almost happened because of your decision. Itachi, the road ahead is only 2 ways. You can die a monster or take the long and hard road to atonement. The choice is ultimately up to you, Itachi. I'm offering you this last piece of wisdom because you are the head of the Uchiha clan, despite there being few members left. When the woman finished speaking, she vanished. Just what was this woman talking about? Then he saw a bird in the sky, which was a raven. It flew towards Itachi. He noticed there was a piece of paper. He opened it and realized what the woman had said earlier. He would have to confront his past sooner than later. His return to Konoha would have to happen. The people he loves are in danger once again, but he couldn't go back yet, not without meeting his contact. He read the letter, everything that was in it, Jiraiya. He would need to meet him in the Sapphire Village in 10 days' time. Itachi would have to confront his past sooner than he wanted. The consequences of his choices would force him to face them if he ever wanted to protect the people he loved, the ones he hurt. He wondered how many sacrifices he would have to make before it was all said and done. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and have a nice day.